Greetings, friends, family, loved and cherished ones. I go through a bunch of takes on these sometimes, and uh, it's just like the humility part for for sharing online. so Today I'm going to talk about what good can come from failed experiences. A lot of times it's a fear provoking, anger, thought reaction to people that can come across as toxic in our lives. And it can be a two-way street, I'm not even sure what category you could put this in. Somebody with mental health issues and on both ends of the spectrum, whether it be like the victim wanting to take the victim stance, but doing like terrible things, disgusting things, or living with a bunch of shame and trauma from that. And then having another end of the spectrum, someone that's very proud and like maybe sociopathic tendencies and OCD and sometimes these people come together and just create this toxic environment for both individuals. So narcissistic tendencies, the two don't mesh necessarily, but what good can come from this, like that failed experience when the two do meet each other? And how can individuals grow and learn about themselves to set certain boundaries or discover what works well for them and may work well in their next endeavor or relationship or whatever they get into? And discovering that, like, that's powerful. And sometimes you need like professional help, counseling, or other things to help you like digest and seek out that knowledge and to set clear boundaries with people that are toxic in your life. So utilizing tools of this experience and growth for a better you. And first, I'd like to share a horoscope quote about bad feelings are better teachers than good feelings. So many good ideas start out as revenge plots. Needing things to be better will ignite your purpose, fuel your drive, and sharpen your intentions. Or, for me, like, it just opened my eyes to what are my intentions in situations, and do I need to reevaluate those? Is it purposeful? Is it meaningful? What good will come from seeking out certain things? So that's important to recognize. And are other people willing to recognize and see the growth or change that you've done? And or are they just going to attack your autonomy, your character, your development, and lifestyle changes, and put you down, maybe backstab, talk behind your back, or gaslight you even worse, and or just shut down and not communicate with you and still go behind your back and say things that are toxic and unhealthy? Those type of people, like, limit contact with them because that's not going to be good for your mental health, and vice versa. Like, maybe like the two don't mesh or they mesh too well sometimes, and revenge plots become manifested or something else. Like, who knows? Most bad feelings stem from fear. So anger and rage, come from a defense mechanism. Fear something's wrong, something's off in the atmosphere, and it can be because personality types, just don't necessarily mesh well together sometimes. And too much pressure on an individual can just make them snap, break down, and they're just trying to protect their autonomy, their area, their way of lifestyle. And when two lifestyles collide and clash and there's no negotiation or knowledge in the middle, or set clear boundaries, communication and listening and describing what works well for you may be different than what works well for somebody else, and sometimes the two cannot coexist in a relationship or in a close housing. That's why they say it's like better to live together first before you really consider dating or getting super intimate with a partner, and deciding to have children and stuff like that, because that sometimes it just isn't going to work well with the people you choose to partner up with. I mean, it's difficult because people are attracted to each other for different reasons, and that's a whole nother subject. Um, and face it, some people just click, and others don't. And then on top of that, like, be open minded to things changing. I know I've changed and grown a lot since I was like over the last 12 years. I've just grown into a new shell of a man, and I love who I am now. I used to live in a lot of shame and fear and have a lot of anxieties associated with that that fed into a lot of bitterness and hatred for myself, and that just cast out to others. And it was very toxic. I was a very toxic individual to be around. I was angry all the time, and also people around me were angry as well. So I guess it's a two-edged sword. Two-edged sword. Okay. The people you may need to avoid are the ones that slander, talk behind your back, devalue you as a human being, devaluate your autonomy, break it down, like just, you know, that's things you need to avoid. Or people that gaslight you, like say, like blow up in your face and go all alpha and like tear you down, and then do those other things, slander behind your back. Like that's not going to be healthy for you or for them either. So cutting off communication or limiting communication when it's necessary. But at the same time, like recognize that the anger, the fear, that can be powerful fuels for being very productive and discovering what your intentions are, or maybe reevaluating where your intentions stem from as a human being. It's important to fact check and reevaluate your intentions so that you can create clear boundaries and discover what is a boundary for you, and also what might necessarily be a boundary for somebody else, despite like whatever thrill or excitement you're seeking from the toxic relationships. um, know what are deal breakers for you and are non-negotiables, and stick to those. If somebody like uses drugs or alcohol, or maybe somebody's just lazy or doesn't do anything, or they change, maybe you're object oriented and you need things to be a certain way, and when they touch or move things around, it really distorts your environment. And some people are like that and some people aren't, but knowing yourself and what works well for you will decipher that, and communicating that need to your partner and say like, look, like I need my clothes folded this way, I need the second laundry basket, one for the dirty, one for the clean, or whatever it is. And some people may be like, well, that doesn't make sense, but that's where communication comes in well, working with a partner and being open to negotiating those needs with them and vice versa. I would never want to do relationship counseling because usually by the time it gets to counseling, the relationship's over and someone's made up their mind and are just a closed circuit to that or whatever. Yeah, I'm trying not to get into a bunch of personal experiences with myself necessarily with these type of things, but we've all probably experienced to some degree some things that didn't mesh or did work with relationships in the past, and yeah. And then the last thing is to forgive, not forgiveness from come from within, and earnestly forgive somebody, an offender, or yourself for being in a bad position or not communicating well in a relationship. This is important, to forgive, not necessarily for them, but for you. Um, if you are unable to do this, seek professional help. Um, the reason why is carrying around a resentment or a burden can really affect loved ones, other ones that are involved in your life, and just distort your perception of things, create a toxic environment, and or in general just this is unhealthy weight, a burden of resentment, or it's just a thought provoking, a fear instilled, a chemical imbalance, and to truly like work on oneself and discover that the resentment is coming from within, not from without, or the supposed threat of something that's in your head. And if it's not, then call the police. Do something about it, because honestly, collecting evidence and just like true evidence that something's going on that is unhelpful, or you're feeling targeted, or that they're doing something irrational and behaving in a certain way that is scaring you and creating a distortion in your life, then you have every right to protect yourself and seek out professional help. Police officers or counselors can help you decipher if you need to um, go further with that. It's difficulty when it's between family members and stuff, but it's necessary to create boundaries and discover. The unexamined life is unworth living. So if you don't know yourself, how are you ever going to share yourself with somebody else and have them respect your needs? So getting to know oneself before getting into relationships is important, and communicating what your needs are and having them respect what your needs are as well. So like my last relationship, I learned from previous ones, like I don't like to be hit. Nobody should be getting hit, but in particular, I don't like my head being hit. And it's like, why would you have to describe that? Well, I may do things that are have mental health challenges, and I may do things that are off-putting to the other person. And I'm like, please just describe to me what the issue is. And so I ran into a lot of things with my last partner that was like, she never hit me on the head because that's a deal breaker. That's straight up like, boom, we're done. Just no, it's non-negotiable. Same thing with like a drug addiction or anything like that. But like just in general, like how she wanted clothes folded, or how she wanted her environment to be. And it was really important to her that like I not touch belongings that she put up in certain places or something like that, And I respected that. Like I listened and I respected that to her, and that was what was important in that. What was important to me was like that she doesn't use drugs or alcohol or use harm reduction methods, or not cheat, just general things, but like they're like basic oughts to knows, I would think. But coming from different lifestyles and backgrounds, people have different perceptions as to what a relationship entails and what is of value to them. I understand that. And yeah, so yeah, thanks.